set of slides explains more of the process that we'll be going through in this East Coast Climate Change Scenario Planning Initiative, and particularly talks about how we want you to be involved as participants in this. Firstly, the multi-year initiative is going to be undertaken in a series of steps. We've already gone through an orientation step where we've established a set of draft objectives, expected outcomes, and project focus, and we're hoping to turn those from draft to confirmed with your help in the weeks ahead. We're currently in late summer, fall 2021 in the scoping phase. And this is where we'll be reaching out to you, to other stakeholders, to gather input on the forces of change that could affect fisheries over the next 20 years. The series of webinars that are happening at the end of August and early September 2021 are very much part of this, and a questionnaire that will follow that will ask you specifically about your ideas about what's going to shape change. As a result of what we find out in scoping, we'll then be exploring, looking at these forces in greater detail, really doing a deep dive into a number of these forces so that we have better data about what might be driving change in the future. Given that extra information, we will then, towards the end of 2021, probably early 2022, conduct one or more workshop sessions to actually construct and then discuss the scenarios that we create as a result of this. Throughout 2022, those scenarios will then be used and applied in order to identify some implications, and particularly the actions and recommendations that we'll identify that then start to apply to management strategies and to governance changes and so on. Throughout all of this, and particularly at the end, we'll be monitoring changes that are happening, identifying key indicators to basically give us an assessment of change, and then ultimately to outline the next steps. A note about participants. So scenario work is really most effective when it includes many stakeholders who bring a diverse set of ideas into the discussion and are willing to learn from each other. This is not a process where we're only listening to experts, or we're only listening to certain groups and not to others. We want to bring many different perspectives together. We expect that we'll be involving researchers and scientists, many people who are fishery participants and who operate in this whole area. Fishery managers are going to be an important part of this because ultimately many of the recommendations might well apply there. We're also bringing in coastal community representatives, shoreside support, anyone who kind of supports the fishing industry or other related areas on the shore side, and then also other ocean users, whether that be from tourism or whether it be from new ocean uses such as alternative energy and other businesses and so on. So we'll be looking to involve a whole range of different participants in the work that we do over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. And during this process, it's worth mentioning that understanding and discussing the future in the way in which we're going to be doing it using scenarios, in many ways calls for a very different mindset. We're going to be asking people as they're involved in this to think expansively. As we've talked about earlier, a lot of the time when we think about the future, we tend to think narrowly about the things that we're fully aware of. We'll be encouraging people to think about what some of the possibilities might be that maybe we don't often spend a lot of time thinking about. Secondly, we'll be encouraging everyone to embrace uncertainty. There's no doubt that we've been surprised and lots of unexpected things have happened to us, whether it be specifically in the fishing industry or just more generally thinking pandemics or economic difficulties and so on. So we want to encourage everyone to embrace uncertainty, really almost put ourselves in a position where we're thinking about things that are very unlikely, but could still well happen. And then finally, the different mindset also encourages us all to communicate, listen, and what I call there share the air. no one knows what the future is going to hold. No one has a crystal ball and can tell you exactly what's going to go on. We have some fairly good ideas these days, especially when it comes to climate change, but we do want to hear as many perspectives as possible as to what some of those implications might be. As a result of running through a process with these kinds of principles, remember, the most important thing is the deliverables that we will get as a result. We'll be looking to develop some priorities for fishery management strategies and how they can be more effective under an era of climate change. We'll be developing some policy recommendations. We'll be thinking about the research needs that are going to be required throughout the community to better understand what's going on. And then ultimately, this is all about developing new or revised ideas and approaches to better prepare for an era of climate change. And whether that's from fishery managers or fishermen or other players across the whole approach, it's going to be important for us to develop new or revised ideas because we know we're going to be into a different world.